Ethan, I hate seeing you so worn out. For the wedding in a few days, how about you let Julian stand in for you? Just for the ceremony. My girlfriend, Chloe, looked at me, her eyes brimming with concern. Babe, you're always looking out for me, I said, pinching her beautiful cheek with a look of pure adoration. I actually have something to discuss with you, too. The thought of you going through the pain of childbirth. I just can't bear it. So, I've decided to let your best friend, Maya, carry the baby for you. I slid the ultrasound report across the coffee table toward her. I went with her to the appointment yesterday. The doctor says the baby is developing perfectly. What? Chloe's smile froze on her face as she picked up the report. This is real, she whispered, her eyes turning red as tears welled up. She screamed. The fetus is over 2 months old. When did you two start this? Let's see, it was probably... Just then my phone rang. It was Maya. After a quick call, I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. Maya's craving pickles. I'm gonna go run out and get some for her. I walked out without a second glance. Ethan, you bastard, you get back here. Cough. Chloe's hysterical scream was cut short as she doubled over, a spray of crimson misting the crumpled ultrasound report on the floor. I'm living in a story. It's the only explanation. I've woken up inside some cheap, melodramatic novel. The kind with a title like The CEO's Regret, My Billion-Dollar Apology. The plot is so cliché it hurts. The hero's old flame, the one that got away, leaves him for a rich old woman. The heroine is devastated. The male lead, a patient and caring friend, helps her pick up the pieces. He supports her, helps her business flourish, and slowly, she falls for him. They get together. Then, of course, the old flame gets dumped. After 3 years of being a boy toy, he's kicked to the curb with nothing but a suitcase full of designer clothes and a few STDs. He comes crawling back. The day he lands, the heroine leaves the male lead standing in a downpour to go pick him up from the airport, promising she'll be right back. She isn't. She throws a lavish welcome home party for the ex and forgets the hero ever existed. He stands in the rain all night and ends up with a fever that lasts for days. Another time, during a terrifying thunderstorm, they're in bed together. The ex calls, crying that he's scared of the thunder. The heroine immediately abandons the hero, who is, ironically, genuinely terrified of storms, and drives across town to comfort the other man. The hero spends the night huddled in a corner of the bed, wide awake until dawn. The final nail in the coffin is a stupid childhood pact she made with the ex to have a wedding ceremony, whether they were together or not. She asks the hero to let the ex stand in for him at their own wedding. When she comes home from the farcical ceremony, the hero is gone. For good. What follows is the standard, desperate win-him-back montage. But as some wise ass on the internet once said, misquoting Shakespeare, belated devotion is cheaper than dirt. In the end, the hero dies alone, having never married. The heroine goes insane with regret. And the ex? He gets off scot-free. It's a garbage ending. But now that I'm here, I'm rewriting it. Honestly, waking up inside this story isn't all bad. The character I've taken over, Ethan, is rich. His family owns a successful company. His girlfriend, Chloe, is from a similar background and is undeniably gorgeous. Whatever the original script said, I'm enjoying the perks for now. Besides his pathetic devotion and tragic ending, the guy's life is top tier. And I can fix the devotion part. I'm here for the good times. Someone else can have his suffering. When I first woke up in this reality, Ethan and Chloe were in their honeymoon phase. I spent a comfortable year and a half living with her, playing the part. Then, right on schedule, her old flame, Julian, came back. Today, Chloe had plans to get brunch with her friends. The driver was taking me, Chloe, and her best friend, Maya, downtown. The moment we left the garage, the sky opened up and a torrential rain began to fall. Chloe's phone buzzed. Her entire body tensed. She fumbled in her purse, snatched the phone, and answered it in half a second. Her voice was a hushed, urgent whisper. Hello. I couldn't hear the other side, but I saw her eyes light up with a giddy, girlish delight. A smile she couldn't contain spread across her face, and her voice dripped with honey. Really? You're here? I know, it must be impossible to get a cab in this weather. Don't move. Stay right where you are. I'm on my way to get you. She hung up and turned to me, her eyes darting around, refusing to meet mine. Ethan, honey, something's come up at work. An emergency meeting with Mr. Peterson. I have to go handle it right now. And look, this rain is crazy, and the car is a bit crowded. Would you mind hopping out here? I'll come back and get you as soon as I'm done, I promise. I was taking a sip of bottled water and choked, spraying a fine mist all over her. Holy shit, the sheer audacity of a lie was almost impressive. How did the original Ethan put up with this for over a year? The phone call had nothing to do with a meeting, and this stretched sedan could comfortably fit 3 more people. Chloe. Before I could say anything, Maya, sitting next to me, jumped in. She frowned, her tone sharp with disapproval. It's pouring out there. Where's he supposed to go? He'll get soaked. And what kind of company's secret is so important he can't come along? Chloe shot Maya a desperate look, secretly pinching her thigh under the seat. Her frantic gestures were so obvious it was comical. It's a company's secret. Business stuff, Ethan wouldn't get it. Besides, I have to pick up an important client on the way. There really won't be room. I chuckled internally but kept my face neutral. I knew who was really playing games here. It's fine, no problem. You guys go. I'll work. Just drop me off up here. Take a right past this street and go down about half a mile. The car pulled over. Chloe looked out the window. Vortex Lounge? Ethan, what are you doing here? Staying out of the rain. Don't worry about me. Drive safe. I slammed the door and sprinted into the club. Mr. Davis, are we heading to the office now? The driver asked, startling Chloe out of her daze. To the airport, she said, her voice distant. She glanced back, her brow furrowed as she stared at the entrance to the lounge. When did Ethan start going to places like that? I never let him go to clubs without me. All the little tramps in there are. Hello. Earth to Chloe. Maya waved a hand in front of her face. What are you staring at? You're a million miles away. Oh, nothing. Can you book a table at Aria? A private room. For when we pick up Julian. A welcome home dinner. Sure. Our usual spot. Yeah. Great. Stepping into Vortex Lounge, the thumping bass and dazzling, chaotic lights hit me like a physical force, chasing away the chill of the rain. The original Ethan, so tightly controlled by Chloe that he barely knew what a nightclub looked like, was a distant memory. I felt a strange sense of unfamiliarity, but it didn't stop me from embracing the sudden freedom. Welcome, sir. How many in your party? A host in a sharp vest asked warmly. Just me. Give me the VIP suite. Of course, sir. Right this way. Inside the private suite, a handsome waiter came in to take my drink order and help with the music system. Your fruit platter, sir. Do you need help choosing a playlist, sir? What's your preferred genre? We'll get to that, I said, waving my hand magnanimously. First, send in a few of your best girls. Let's get this party started. Munching on sweet, chilled fruit and vibing to the deafening music, I sank into the plush sofa, feeling absolutely incredible. To hell with the melodramatic script. To hell with the one that got away. I was gonna live my life. Meanwhile, Chloe's car arrived at the airport and picked up the man himself, Julian Vance. Dressed head to toe in designer brands that couldn't quite hide his worn-out, pathetic aura, his eyes held a calculating glint. The moment he got in the car, his performance began. His gaze was glued to Chloe. Chloe, it's been too long. You're even more beautiful, he purred, his eyes filled with a carefully rehearsed blend of nostalgia and a greedy appraisal of the car's luxurious interior. Thanks. You too, Chloe replied mechanically, her eyes flicking down to her phone. She was distracted, her mind replaying the image of me walking into that nightclub over and over again. The welcome home dinner was held in a private room at Aria, an exclusive and elegant restaurant. Besides Maya, a few other mutual friends were there. Julian was the undeniable star of the show. He played all his cards, trips down memory lane, deep, soulful stares, and casually intimate remarks. He was a master of the game. Remember when we were kids? Under that old oak tree in your parents' backyard, you said you'd marry me one day. These years abroad were great, but I was so lonely. The thing I missed most was your mom's lasagna recipe, and just being with you. But it was no use. Chloe's soul seemed to be stuck back at the Vortex Lounge. She couldn't stop imagining me in a VIP room, surrounded by beautiful women, living a life of debauched luxury. The more she thought, the more agitated she became. The chopsticks in her hand relentlessly mashed the delicate tuna tartare in her bowl until it was nothing but a pink paste. What is Ethan doing right now? Why would he go to a place like that? Is he mad at me? The questions swirled in her head, driving her crazy. Chloe, Chloe. Julian called her name for the third time. She was just staring into space, swirling the wine in her glass. This wasn't how he'd pictured their reunion. He expected her to fall into his arms, fawning over him, showering him with the attention he felt he deserved. The Chloe who had always been at his beck and call was right here, but her mind was somewhere else entirely. Huh? Oh, sorry, Julian. Chloe snapped back to reality, forcing a stiff smile. She put down her chopsticks, abandoning the mangled remains of her appetizer. I have a family emergency. It's really urgent. I have to go. You guys have fun, eat, and drink as much as you want. It's all on my tab. We'll get together again soon. Right now, all she wanted was to fly to that nightclub and see for herself. She grabbed her purse and was about to bolt when Julian lunged, grabbing her wrist. His grip was a little too tight, his voice laced with a wounded tone. Chloe, what's so urgent? Is it more important than us seeing each other after all these years? I've been gone for so long, and you're the only person I've wanted to see. The party's just getting started, and the guest of honor is leaving? Can't you stay a little longer? It was his go-to move, one that had always worked on her. But this time, Chloe wrenched her hand free, her face a mask of irritation and urgency. Her voice was sharp. Julian, I'm serious. It's an emergency. Ethan, he's still out there waiting for me in the rain. I have to go get him. Before the words were even fully out, she was gone, practically running out of the room, leaving her coat behind. Ethan. Julian stared after her, grinding his teeth. The look in his eyes was dark enough to curdle milk. Ethan again. Just a placeholder, a stepping stone he'd never taken seriously. It seemed this obstacle was more complicated than he'd thought. Chloe raced to the Vortex Lounge, but of course she was too late. I had already settled my bill and left. The suite was now occupied by another group of partygoers. Dejected, she returned home to find that I still wasn't back, a first in their entire relationship. She sank onto the sofa. The initial anxiety slowly morphed into worry, then into self-reassurance. He's probably just angry. He went to a friend's house. Her mind raced with possibilities until, exhausted and uneasy, she drifted into a fitful sleep on the couch, still in her makeup from the night before. The next morning, after a fantastic night's sleep in the presidential suite of a five-star hotel, I strolled back home, showered, refreshed, and humming a cheerful tune. The click of the lock was like an electric shock. Chloe, who had been curled up on the sofa, looking haggard, shot up and rushed toward me. Her eyes scanned me up and down like a TSA agent, and she even sniffed the air around me like a bloodhound, trying to pick up any incriminating scents. Ethan, where were you last night? Why didn't you come home? Do you have any idea how worried I was? I called you 100 times. Her tone was accusatory, but underneath, it was a palpable fear, the panic of someone losing their grip. Her eyes were bloodshot. I calmly took out my phone, unlocked it, and pulled up Maya's Instagram from the night before. I held the screen up for her to see. It was a 9-photo grid from their dinner, a celebration for Julian's return. Julian was seated at the head of the table, smiling like he'd won the lottery. Chloe was next to him, looking a bit distracted, but, in the photo, perfectly content. I thought you had an urgent work thing last night? Or was it welcoming home this important client? My voice was flat. He must be a pretty big deal, important enough to make you leave your fiancé out in a storm all night. My gaze was steady, but it hit her with a pressure she'd never felt from me before. Chloe's face went white. Her lips trembled as she scrambled for an explanation. Ethan, listen to me, it's not what you think. It was Julian. He just got back. He doesn't know anyone, and with the rain, he couldn't get a cab. I was going to drop him off and come right back for you. But then our friends insisted on throwing him a welcome home dinner, and I couldn't get away. I went to the lounge to find you later, I swear, but you were already gone. Her excuses were so weak, even she didn't seem to believe them. I held up a hand, tired of hearing her half-assed lies. I grabbed my briefcase and left for work. For the next few days, Chloe was on her best behavior. She came home on time, her words and actions laced with a careful, deliberate effort to please, trying to atone for her mistake. She even started cooking for me, something she'd never done before, though the results were mostly inedible. But the script, it seemed, was relentless. Julian's constant calls. He was bored and needed company. He was having trouble with something and needed help. There was a party she just had to come to. Chipped away at her guilt. Soon enough, her flimsy excuses about work obligations and comforting friends started up again, and she was coming home late. And me? I wasn't sitting around waiting. She had her parties with friends. I had my business dinners. We each did our own thing. It was perfect, and through it all, as Maya repeatedly ran interference for Chloe, she and I were talking more and more. Our connection was growing stronger every day. That night, a violent storm rolled in. The wind howled, rattling the windows, followed by flashes of lightning and a deafening crack of thunder. Rain hammered against the glass like a drum roll. Right on cue, Julian's special ringtone went off. We had just gone to bed. Chloe glanced at me before answering. Hello. Chloe, it's storming, and I'm scared. Julian's voice whined through the phone. I'm all alone here, and the house feels so empty. You know how much I hate weather like this. Can you come over? Chloe clutched the phone, a flicker of conflict on her face. She looked at me hesitantly, as if asking for permission. I just stared back, my expression blank. I wasn't going to tell her to go, but I sure as hell wasn't going to stop her. Ethan, Julian says he's scared all by himself at home. Maybe I should just. Gurdunke. It's your decision. You don't need to ask me. She seemed stunned by my detached response. Ethan, I'll just go check on him. I'll be back really fast. Wait for me. With that, she hastily threw on some clothes, grabbed an umbrella, and plunged into the raging storm outside. Watching her disappear, the smile on my face vanished. I immediately picked up my phone, found Maya's number, and dialed. She picked up almost instantly. I cleared my throat and said, mimicking Julian's pathetic tone, "Hey Maya, it's storming outside, and I'm all alone here. Can you come keep me company?" There was a 2-second pause on the other end, followed by Maya's crisp, decisive voice, tinged with an unmistakable hint of excitement. "Okay, be right there. No questions. No fake pleasantries. Perfect," I whispered, a satisfied smile spreading across my face. Maya arrived faster than I expected, her hair and shoulders damp from the rain. She brought a gust of cool, wet air in with her. Just as she stepped inside, a massive clap of thunder exploded directly overhead, shaking the entire apartment and making the lights flicker. I seized the moment. I let out a yelp, feigning terror, and launched myself into her arms. I wrapped my arms tightly around her slim but strong waist, burying my face in the crook of her neck, which smelled of rain and fresh perfume. My voice was muffled. That was terrifying. I hate thunderstorms. As I spoke, I nuzzled closer, enjoying the soft warmth of her body. She had a great figure, slender but not bony, with a satisfying firmness. Maya's body tensed for a second, clearly surprised by my forwardness, but she relaxed almost immediately. One hand came up to gently stroke my back, while the other patted me rhythmically, like she was calming a frightened animal. Her voice was warm, laced with an amusement she couldn't quite hide. "Sure, it's okay. I'm here now." Holding her close, I gently guided her toward the bedroom. "The thunder is too loud out here. It's scarier. Let's go in my room. It's more soundproof. And warmer." We sat on the edge of the plush bed, talking. At first, it was just small talk about the weather, about how a childhood incident made me scared of storms. Then we talked about our dreams, our plans for the future, and our mutual frustration with certain oblivious people. As we talked, the distance between us shrank until our breaths mingled in the air. The atmosphere grew thick with unspoken energy. Outside, the storm raged, providing the perfect, passionate soundtrack for the night. The mattress dipped, clothes rustled to the floor, and the room filled with the soft sounds of whispered words and heavy breathing. It was, in short, a night of intense and mutually satisfying deep communication. I woke up the next morning feeling refreshed and clear-headed. The spot next to me was empty, the only evidence of the night before being the rumpled sheets and a single, long strand of dark hair on the pillow that wasn't mine. It was almost noon when Chloe finally came home, sporting dark circles under her eyes and a weary expression. She saw me sitting on the living room sofa, casually flipping through a magazine, and her eyes flickered with guilt. "Ethan," she began, her voice hoarse with exhaustion. "The rain last night was just too heavy. It was impossible to drive back. And Julian, he was so scared he couldn't sleep. A few of us friends stayed over in his living room to keep him company." She watched my face carefully for a reaction. I was scrolling through my phone, smiling at a funny meme Maya had just sent me. I murmured, not even looking up. I might as well have been a stranger. Chloe froze, looking like she'd thrown a punch and hit a pillow. All the excuses she had prepared were stuck in her throat. She crept closer, her voice a mix of disbelief and rising anger. "I just told you I spent the night at another man's house. Is that all you have to say?" This was not the fight she had anticipated. My total indifference was more unsettling than any shouting match could ever be. I finally lifted my eyes from the screen. "What kind of reaction were you hoping for?" I asked calmly. "Should I throw a tantrum? Threaten to kill myself? Lock you in the apartment? You should at least be angry. Yell at me. Be jealous. That's how I know you care." She shot back, her voice rising with a sense of neglected indignation. "You know what you did was inappropriate. You know it looks bad, but you did it anyway," I said with a shrug, my tone light and dismissive. "Look, Chloe, I'm just your boyfriend. I can't control you." With that, I put my phone away and stood up to get dressed. Maya and I had dinner plans, and I didn't want to be late. I left her standing alone in the living room, her expression shifting from shock to fury, then to a dawning, chaotic panic. She was finally, belatedly, realizing that my apathy was infinitely more terrifying than my anger ever could have been. In the days that followed, Chloe seemed genuinely panicked. She threw herself into damage control, her efforts clumsy and transparent. She started spending more time with me, booking appointments to tour venues, try on wedding dresses, and pick out furniture. She acted like the model fiancé, deeply invested in our wedding plans. She even started sending me texts asking what I wanted for dinner, a meal she would then attempt to cook herself. Her culinary skills actually improved. I played along. I was the perfect, loving fiancé, supportive, gentle, and completely engaged. It was just an act. I knew, based on the story script, this wedding was never going to happen. Julian still had his ultimate trump card, the childhood wedding pact, and I was just waiting for him to play it. In the meantime, she was the one footing the bills. During this period, Julian continued to call her away with his manufactured emergencies, which gave Maya and me plenty of time for our own in-depth discussions. Our relationship was accelerating. We discovered we were compatible on every level: our values, our hobbies, and especially our shared opinion of Chloe and Julian. Then came the night at a quiet, upscale restaurant. We had just ordered when Maya's face suddenly went pale. She covered her mouth, let out a small gagging sound, and shot up from the table. "Excuse me," she mumbled before rushing to the restroom. I watched her go, a jolt running through me. It was immediately followed by a wave of intense, unexpected joy. Could it be? It was. My insistence on a trip to the doctor confirmed it. I stared at the ultrasound scan, at the two tiny, bean-shaped figures that were already recognizably human, and felt a strange, profound emotion I couldn't name. Twins. A boy and a girl. They were here. Looking at Maya, who seemed completely overwhelmed, I took her hand and squeezed it tight. That evening, I came home to a full dinner spread. Chloe rushed over, clinging to my arm, her concern laid on thick. "Ethan, you've been working so hard on the wedding plans lately. You look exhausted. It breaks my heart. Maybe we should just let the wedding planners handle the small stuff. I don't want you to burn yourself out." An alarm bell went off in my head. Here we go. It was time. Time to end this. I feigned appreciation, patting her hand. "It's fine." She paused, studying my face before continuing cautiously. "I have an idea." "What is it?" "You can tell me anything." "Well, the wedding in a few days. It's really just a formality for our parents, right? The ceremony is so long and tiring. I'm worried about you. So what if we let Julian stand in for you? Just for the ceremony. He's about your size. The tux would fit him perfectly. With a mask and sunglasses. From a distance, no one would be able to tell. That way, I wouldn't have to watch you suffer through it. I just feel so bad for you." She said it with such sincerity, her eyes even welling up with fake tears. Under any other circumstances, I might have been touched. But this was insane. She wanted another man to stand in for me at my own wedding because I might get tired? What was next? Asking him to fill in for the honeymoon, too? I held back my sarcastic thoughts and instead broke into a grin even wider and more exaggerated than her look of concern. I reached out and pinched her cheek affectionately. "Babe, that's why I love you. You're always thinking of me. That is the most thoughtful, considerate idea anyone has ever had." Seeing my enthusiastic reaction, she visibly relaxed, her smile broadening. "You know, babe," I continued, "you worry about me, but I worry about you even more. The thought of a woman going through 9 months of pregnancy, the pain of childbirth, it's like a knife in my heart. I can't stand the thought of you suffering like that. So I decided to let your best friend Maya do it for you." I pulled the brand new ultrasound report from my pocket and slowly slid it across the table. Her face lit up. She stood on her toes and gave me a quick kiss. "I knew you were the best, Ethan." "Wait, what? Let Maya carry my baby?" Her smile froze. She stared at me, her mind failing to process my words. She slowly took the report, her eyes dropping to the paper. Her pupils constricted violently. Gestation, approximately 13 weeks. Fraternal twins, fetal development normal. She read the words out loud, her voice a trembling whisper, as if she didn't recognize the language. The hand holding the paper began to shake uncontrollably, crumpling the edges. After a few seconds of dead silence, her head snapped up. Her eyes were instantly bloodshot, and tears streamed down her face. "This is real. The babies are over 2 months along? When did you two start? When? Right under my nose. That slut. How dare she seduce you?" She crushed the report into a ball and hurled it to the floor. I scratched my head, affecting a casual air. Let me think. It was probably that night with the thunderstorm. You know, when you went to Julian's place. I was scared too, so I asked her to come over. Right on cue, my phone rang with a special ringtone I'd set for Maya. I answered immediately, my voice instantly softening into a gentle, loving tone. "Hey Maya, what's wrong?" Okay. Cravings? Pickles? Okay. You just wait there. I'll go get them for you right now. What kind do you want? Dill? Sweet? Sour gummy worms? All right, I'll get a mix of everything. You can choose. I'll be there soon. I hung up, grabbed my jacket, and started for the door, completely ignoring the woman behind me who was trembling with a rage so profound it bordered on madness. Sorry, Chloe. Maya's morning sickness is hitting her pretty hard, and she's got a sudden craving for sour things. Gotta run. The pregnant lady gets what she wants. You know how it is. Chloe let out a hysterical, guttural scream and grabbed a throw pillow, launching at my head. I didn't even turn around. All I could think about was getting those pickles. Ethan, you cheated on me. If you don't explain yourself, I will never forgive you. Cough. Chloe collapsed to the floor, a trickle of blood dribbling from the corner of her mouth onto the crumpled ultrasound report. The rest was straightforward. I went back to our place, packed my essential belongings, and moved in with Maya. In the following days, I dedicated myself to taking care of her, becoming the perfect husband and father-to-be. I never missed a single prenatal appointment. I could recite a list of pregnancy do's and don'ts by heart. I cooked nutritious meals and soothed her whenever the hormonal shifts made her mood swing. Of course, Chloe wasn't going to give up that easily. First came the flood of insane phone calls. After I blocked her number, she started using her connections, pulling every string she could to find her new address. It didn't take long for her to show up at our high-rise apartment downtown. One morning, the doorbell began ringing incessantly, a frantic, demanding buzz. I rushed to the door, not wanting the noise to disturb Maya, who had been on edge lately. I opened it to find Chloe standing there, looking haggard and unstable. Her eyes immediately locked on Maya, who stood behind me in a loose, comfortable cotton nightgown. Her baby bump was now prominent, and her face glowed with a healthy, natural radiance. Maya's expression was calm. She had known this confrontation was inevitable. In an instant, Chloe's eyes turned a furious, venomous red. She looked like she wanted to tear Maya apart with her bare hands. Maya, I treated you like a sister. I told you everything, and you went behind my back and seduced my fiancé? You shameless whore. You're nothing but a slut. Losing all control, she shrieked like a madwoman and lunged forward, her hand raised to slap Maya across the face. My eyes went cold. I moved in a blur, catching her wrist in a vice grip. I gave a slight shove, pushing her backward. Unsteady in her stilettos and weakened by weeks of emotional turmoil, she stumbled and fell hard on the cold tile floor. Her purse flew from her grasp, its contents scattering around her in a pathetic display. She looked up at me, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief, as if I had just committed an unforgivable crime. Ethan, she stammered, her voice a broken, accusing shriek. You pushed me? For her? You used to say you couldn't even bear to speak a harsh word to me. I stood firmly in front of Maya, shielding her. She's pregnant, with my children. Of course I'm going to protect her and the babies from any harm. What about me? What am I? I'm your fiancé. We were supposed to get married. The invitations have already been sent out, she wailed from the floor, crying without a shred of dignity, her mascara running in black streaks down her face like a child throwing a tantrum. You? I raised an eyebrow, my tone dripping with a cool, undisguised scorn. You're my ex-girlfriend. Have you forgotten? The moment you chose to leave me standing in a thunderstorm to pick up your precious Julian from the airport, it was over. Seeing the color drain from her face, I added, and as for the wedding, weren't you the one who wanted Julian to stand in for me? No, it's not like that. Ethan, please listen to me. I love you. Nothing happened with Julian. I swear, we're just friends. The person I love has always been you. She struggled to her feet, trying to grab my arm again. I sidestepped her. She stumbled, catching herself on the wall. Her voice was desperate. Nothing happened between us. We're innocent. Whether you're innocent or guilty doesn't matter to me anymore, I said, putting a protective arm around Maya's waist. Let me help you back upstairs. You need to stay calm during the pregnancy. I turned back to Chloe. Ms. Davis, please leave. And don't come back. If you continue to harass us, I won't hesitate to file a restraining order. I didn't give her a second glance. After that, Chloe descended into a frightening obsession. The harassment became relentless. Constant calls from block numbers, showing up at my office, waiting for me in the parking garage of our building. Her methods were varied, but her mental state was visibly deteriorating. My response was always the same: swift, firm, and absolute refusal. I instructed security in my office and the front desk of our building not to let her in. Each of her desperate appearances only reinforced my gratitude for escaping that toxic relationship and deepened my concern for Maya, who needed peace and quiet. One evening after work, as I was leaving the office garage, Julian blocked my path. His face was dark, his eyes burning with a mixture of anger and resentment. Ethan, we need to talk. I'm busy, I said, trying to walk around him. Chloe won't talk to me anymore. He spat, his voice rising in frustration. She blocked my number. She won't answer my texts. When I go to her place, she just screams at me and hits me. She says I ruined her life, that it's all my fault. This is your doing, isn't it? Why did you? Crack. I slapped him so hard he spun halfway around, the force of it stinging my own hand. He touched his lip, saw the blood, and stared at me in shock. You, how dare you? How dare I? I followed up with a sharp kick to his groin. He let out a strangled cry and crumpled to the ground. He tried to get up, but a wave of searing pain made him collapse again. She hits you when you bother her. Did you think I'd react any differently? Let me say this one more time. Your drama is not my problem. She's single now. You have your chance. Go for it. I gave him one last look of disgust, as if he were a piece of trash on the pavement, and got in my car. I wasn't actually trying to help them get together. In the original story, after the hero left, Chloe and Julian turned on each other, eventually destroying one another. I was more than happy to let them handle their own self-destruction. I was busy, splitting my time between work and taking care of Maya. I didn't have a second to spare for their nonsense. Bits and pieces of news about Chloe reached me through mutual acquaintances. Apparently, Julian, convinced she was just throwing a tantrum and would eventually come back to him, continued to harass her. It ended on the freeway. He was chasing her car, and they were weaving through traffic at high speed. They both lost control and crashed into each other. Julian was killed instantly. Chloe's legs were crushed in the wreckage. She survived, but after multiple surgeries, she was told she would spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. The once glamorous heiress of the Davis family had met a tragic end, a steep price to pay for her own blindness and selfish choices. Months later, on a bright, sunny day, Maya and I had our wedding. We chose an intimate, art-filled garden estate instead of a lavish ballroom. The atmosphere was warm and romantic. Maya, radiant in a custom-made lace gown that beautifully accentuated her round belly, looked like an angel. The joy and maternal softness in her face was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. However, just as the officiant was about to pronounce us married, a figure appeared at the back of the crowd, a stark contrast to the festive scene. It was Chloe, in a wheelchair, pushed by a middle-aged nurse. She wore a somber black dress, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes sunken. She stared at us on the altar, at our entwined hands and happy faces. Her own hands were clenched in her lap, desperately clutching a white veil, the one we had picked out for a wedding that would never be. The officiant, a true professional, paused for only a fraction of a second before his smile widened. He raised his voice, his tone booming with joy, as if he hadn't seen her at all. And now, I am overjoyed to declare you husband and wife. You may now kiss your beautiful bride. As the soaring notes of the wedding march filled the air, drowned out only by the thunderous applause of our friends and family, I leaned in and kissed Maya deeply. When we parted, I looked in her eyes and saw a love so profound it was almost overwhelming. She smiled and gently touched her belly, where our new life was growing. I smiled back and held her hand tighter. Late-game apologies are worthless, but the happiness you seize for yourself after waking up and walking away from a disaster, that's priceless. As for the woman in the wheelchair, sorry, you ripped up your own script a long time ago. There's no part for you in mine. Your scene is over. For our family of four, the show is just beginning. The end.